Hi, everyone, and welcome to All That Talk Show. I am your co-host, Olivia.
I'm Callie.
And I'm Shang.
And so on today's show, we are going to be talking about dating. But before we do that, we want to get into our act of kindness. And so, we usually like to start off the show with an act of kindness. And so I want the ladies to kind of share if they've engaged in an act of kindness or if they've seen one that they would like to just talk so we can spread more love and positivity.
Yeah, so I had one, and it was an accidental act of kindness. So I went to Fubon on 82nd, which is an Asian grocery store here in Portland. And I got out and I was in the car at the light, like leaving the store. And there's Asian lady on the side of the street, and she kind of makes the motion so I had bought these, they're kind of like joa, but they're not joa. They're it's a little bit different, but it's wrapped in that banana leaf. So I was super hungry. I'd like gotten off work, and I think it was like 7:00. And so I had that on my lap because I was going to eat it before I got home.
Oh my gosh.
So I see her on the side of the street, and then she kind of signals to me, kind of like something like that, And so I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, of course, So then since it was already in my lap, I gave her that. But I mean, because I had already taken a little bite out of, there was 2 of them, And so since I've taken a little bite out of the first one, I figured I should keep that one. So I gave her that other one.
Oh, that's so awesome. Love it.
I mean, I think it just took me by surprise. And I guess I wish I had just been like, here, take like all the groceries that I bought, or whatever, which wasn't much, right? I just had like one bag of some fruits and pastries. But it kind of just made me think about, how there's a lot of people here that are suffering or losing jobs or not having money. And what, just thinking about, what other things that I can do. But anyways, that was my kind of, and I don't want to brag or anything because it wasn't appreciated for me. It was an accidental act of kindness, but that would be mine for the week.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Well, my act of kindness was making a dinner for the pastor and his family. He was recently released from the hospital, and so I thought, since I love to cook, what better way for me to kind of lessen their burden by providing a nice meal for them. So
that's nice of you. And so then my act of kindness, I think this quarantine thing has really kind of got me appreciating like just my friends in general, people checking in on me and wanting to check in with people. Like I know we've Skyped a couple of times. We've Skyped with other friends. We had a Zoom call last night with some of our Hmong Women Today members here. And so I think just really appreciating those folks. And so I sent some note cards to, or postcards, I guess you would call them, right? To some of, just some girlfriends that I've been just thinking about. And so I hope you guys loved my message. And yeah, the cards, they were very expensive cards, by the way. It came with my, what is it? Cultivate What
Matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Cultivate What Matters book. They're very expensive note cards, but they had really important messages. Huh?
I loved it.
Yeah. But they had really empowering and inspiring words on the card. And so I think just really reminding people during this hard time that, hey, like I'm thinking of you, you matter to me. So yeah, that's my act of kindness.
Oh, well, it was definitely a nice surprise when I got it in the mail.
Yay! So. Good. I'm glad you guys like it.
Well, that's kind of awkward because I didn't get one, but that's okay.
Who are you kidding?
Or you don't pick up your mail? Which one?
No, I check every day.
It's just me.
No, but I think it's super sweet because yes, I think we're all dealing with a lot and we forget that other people, you know, might have different situations and kind of need that just reaching out. So very, very sweet to get that in the mail, especially because you could have just text or on Facebook. Getting that, seeing that is really nice.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't get that. You know, I think it's different when like you send a text message. It's like, you know, like back in the old days where like you have to write a letter. And, you know, I still want people to get that feeling of importance.
Yeah.
Because they are important.
Awesome.
All right, Callie, kick it off.
All right,
what are we doing?
Well, I'm super excited for this episode. I feel that this is this is something that, because the dating game is always changing, right? I think about when I was 18, 19, and now it's so different with social media and just the way the dynamic of people and just being older. And so I'm super excited to have our guest on. This is from a male's perspective, and he's definitely, I would say, a guy's guy.
Agreed.
Is a filmmaker, a director, producer, very successful, but at the same time has had his own journey and has been around a lot of different opinions and ideas and other men. And so I think his advice to everyone, men and women, is going to be really important. So hopefully everybody can take a little bit of nugget, make it their own, and get better at this dating game. So I'm going to bring on Sang Yang. All right.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you? Happy quarantine.
Yes.
I know. How's Georgia?
Well, Georgia opened up recently, and it's been chaotic.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yes, I think we're the first state in the nation that opened our doors back to businesses, and you know, just back to try to normalize civilization. But it's been pretty crazy.
Are they opening things in phases, or are they opening everything?
They are slowly opening like phases of businesses, especially.
Okay.
You know, as a business owner myself, it kind of hurts me because then we're not entitled to all the other things that the government are offering to the states who are like following through, you know, the requirements and the guidelines. But anyhow, that's another discussion.
Yes, I know. We did not bring you on to talk quarantine as that is going on right now. We came here because we wanted to talk to you about dating and opposite sex. So we definitely have some questions for you on this, and I think that you bring a lot of wealth of knowledge. That you are, you know, like I was telling other girls, that you're definitely a guy's guy, but you're also a girl's guy. And so I think you speak from a place of intelligence and knowledge. And so before we get into all the other questions that we have, I'm just curious if you have your try and true method of picking up women. Like, what are things that your go-to all the time that you're just like, I know this is going to work?
I wish there was like a template.
Right.
So does it differ like depending on the environment that you're in or the type of women you're trying to pick up?
Absolutely, yes. Environment plays a crucial role in how you approach people, and even in business, because there's this idea of premise. And so premise is basically like the circumference of your environment, right? Like, so if you were to go to church, or if you were to go to a nightclub, or even if you were to go to like a car dealership, right? So there's this idea of premise. And we understand that when we go to these particular places, we understand the context of that environment. So if we go to a car dealership, we know that, okay, we're here to make a transaction, and there has to be a buy-seller kind of relationship. Likewise, it's the same kind of context when we go to like a nightclub. And when we go to a nightclub, we have to understand that, okay, this is the premise, that when we go here, we're going to expect certain things, and we're gonna meet certain people, and we're going to have certain types of conversations. And so understanding that from the get-go, I think that is key how do you approach a particular woman or particular.
So, Super Soon, I've got one question for you. Especially in the Hmong community, we have a lot of people who've been married for a while and then they're recently divorced. If you've been out of the dating game for the last 10 to 15 years, like, where would you even start?
Yeah, good question.
I would start back to the basics. If you're truly ready to enter the dating world, and this is one of those self-reflect kind of questions and answers, because you have to have the same mindset, right? Like, for instance, before you even enter a gym or to have a health regimen, you have to already have certain types of criteria or goals or outcome and outlook. And so you have to mentally prepare yourself, because this isn't just like a trial and error kind of thing. You have to have a strategy, or you have to have a game plan in order for you to be successful, or else you're just gonna kind of halfway do the job and then quit in the middle of that regimen. You're not gonna succeed, and then you're gonna feel disappointed. That's what it is. And so, myself, having 2 failed marriages and having to enter the dating life again, I went back to the basics, and which means that I had to go back to who I was. Even the music that I listened to, like I grew up in the 90s, and I had to go back to listening to the music that I used to when I was at that single life, and also relearning how to be social, relearning how to be fun and exciting and to engage people. How did I make friends in the beginning, or how did I court my ex-wife, when we first met, and relearning the same process again. And that's start from ground zero. But a step beyond that is having a coach, and that is the key behind this. It applies to, again, your health regimen. Like, if you're struggling to get this 6-pack, or you're working on that booty, and if you've been failing and struggling in the past and this never worked for you, well, you have to try something new. And trying something new for me personally, I hired a coach. And the coach doesn't have to be this all-star coach that you see on like social media and have millions and millions of followers. They just have to be a coach. And what that coach does is that coach holds you accountable. And I think that's key.
Yeah. So how do you? I'm curious, and this goes along with like being out of the dating game for a while, right? And so I think when you've been divorced, and speaking from experience, you're quite jaded. And so how do you know if someone's truly interested in you? I think that I operate from this idea of like, no one is interested in me, right? And so that's how I approach everything, is like, so I think for me to feel like someone's interested, they really have to bring it, right? Like, you have to like work extra hard, because I'm just going to assume that this conversation is just friendship. And so, but I'm curious, like as from your perspective, how do you show someone that you're truly interested and not just to play?
If you're asking me from a woman's perspective, we're not permitted to use profanity, but then again, you would have to test them. You would have to test guys consistently, and by testing them, you kind of weed out the weak ones. So you challenge them with intelligent questions. Also, you challenge them by their masculinity, and by doing that, you try to kind of knock them off their axis. For instance, I get a lot of insults, which is good. And if you insult them in a playful, bantering, flirtatious kind of way, and to gauge them and kind of see how they react to it, and so I think that's a powerful tool that women use all the time, and it's great. It's great for us because it keeps us on our toes. And
so, also, can you give an example of that?
Yeah,
right. Like, I've never like heard it in that way before. So where you insult someone in a playful way. Because maybe I need to go do that to my husband. Insult him in a playful way.
And for me, I'm very old school, where your question, Callie, to me, I feel like if a man is really interested in you, he's going to show the initiative. He's going to do things out of the norm to show you that he wants to get you. He's interested in you. I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Super Sang. But if a man's interested in you, he would, you know, jump through hoops for you.
Not necessarily true. And I get that it comes from a good place. Mm-hmm. Like if you meet a total stranger and this man that the stranger that enters into your life, you know, calls you to check up on you, you know, comes out and fix your plumbing, comes out and changes your tires and stuff like that. Subconsciously, I mean, it, you know, to be frank, those are genuine gestures and they're great. But subconsciously, what it does to you as a woman is you kind of lose respect for that person, because then again, you kind of wonder like, okay, does this person have an amazing life? Or does this person have anything that's going on in his life that really matters? Because I'm just a stranger. If I was a woman, I'm just a stranger. And if this person were to just drop whatever that he's doing to attend to my needs, my basic needs, like I could just take my car to go into the shop. I don't need to call him. And that kind of hints to me that, oh, well, you know, maybe this person's kind of a low value person where he doesn't really have much going on for him. And then over time, you're going to lose attraction for this person. Now, in contrary to that, it's quite the opposite. And this is why we hear the idea of like why girls are attracted to bad guys. It's because bad guys ignore all interactions. And so like if I was a woman and I'm like, oh, you know what, I have a flat tire, can you come out and get me? He's like, well, I'm busy. I'm busy. Oh.
If it's a flat tire, you better not be.
But then again, it's scientifically proven that women are attracted to women. Women are attracted to men.
That too.
Their feelings are unclear, and so it's kind of a messed up world. It's kind of a messed up psychology. But that's what causes attraction. And I have to say, you know, me as a young guy, in my earlier years, I fell victim to that too. You know, I was very attentive. I was very trying to be the chivalry and do the right thing. But it ended up hurting me in the long run.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have boundaries. You know, I don't always see like saying no as like a bad guy, nice guy thing. I always see it as boundaries, right? You have to have boundaries. And I respect people that have boundaries. You know, you can't always, and it's nice when they do everything for you in the beginning. But yes, it does get old because it does feel like you have to put those things that are important to you, because that's also important, right? Like being nice to me is great, but also being nice to yourself is even greater, because then you bring something to the table as well.
And see, for me, I feel like, that's, we're going into like the different types of love languages, right? So how do I show you that I love you or I care about you? For some, it's act of service. I'm going to show that I care about you by coming out to change your tire for me. So for me, I would really like something like that, for a guy to, drop everything and, change my tire for me if I needed that.
All the time?
And again, those active services are very genuine, and I'm sure that it's special, but you have to think of it like long term. Like long term, it's going to hurt you subconsciously, because then you don't have respect for this person, or you can't like. There's this phrase where, hey, we take things for granted. And this happens to be that same scenario where in the beginning, if I were to do things for you and to be attentive and to be always available to you, you kind of lose respect for that. You really do. You really do.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
You were saying to add to it?
Oh, I was going to add to what Callie said about like setting boundaries. In the dating world nowadays, like you really have to set your boundaries up front too. You really do. And so, setting your boundaries is not being available all the time, 24/7. That's setting your boundaries, you know, without having to vocalize it.
Yeah, I guess that's why the dating world is so hard, because what do you do?
No, and that's definitely hard in the beginning, right? When you see something new, it's like a rush of like just feelings, right? And you want to see them all the time, you want to talk to them all the time, you just want to like consume them, you know, and then you kind of just, it's too much, right? Or it's you kind of get bored or whatever. So I definitely feel like you gotta like take it slow and just realize that it's not like we're gonna die tomorrow. We have time, things are gonna be okay. So I feel like stretching it out and just like easing it instead of, you know, coming on head on.
I'm so glad that you said it in the way you said that, because that is a genuine reaction. And that is the reaction or the response that guys need to maintain. Is because, you know, and I understand that women are emotional creatures. You all are emotional beings, and whereas most men are logical and we rely on our reason. And so we have to also maintain that status, or maintain that inability, because we have this tendency of again trying to be this nice guy and trying to do the right things. But in actuality, we have to like, and I know this sounds twisted, I know this sounds kind of cruel, but we have to kind of stretch what you just said, Callie, or how you just said, is we need to play on that emotion. We need to kind of stretch that emotional out, because if you're continuously chasing us, we need to kind of play that out a little bit longer, because then that draws that attraction out, you know, that kind of draws it out. But if we were to give all our power away as a man, if I were to come out to say, oh, you're amazing, you're beautiful, I love to be with you, I love to date you, you know, perhaps look at creating your family together right up front, and then you lose that attraction. Like you instantly, as a woman, you're so turned off about the idea, because now you know that, okay, this person is at my disposal. And so it's an exchange of power. It really is. Yeah.
So just keep chasing each other, pretty much.
So
along the process.
Yeah.
That brings a good point. Like, do men like being chased by women?
No, we don't. No.
Okay, women, take note.
Yeah.
Men don't like being chased.
Yeah.
Men loves what we love, the initial chase, but it's weird because like we're like instinctual. We're hunters. Like I'm not trying to say this in an egotistic way, but like we're hunters, and so we love the sport of the game. Like we love Munje, right? Right? But we love the sport. But once we get it, we just let it go. It doesn't mean anything to us. Once we get it, it's meaningless. So once we know that we have it within our grasp, like a right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So then what does a woman chasing, like what exactly does that mean? Does that mean like what, how do you, like in the past, like when have you been turned off by someone chasing you?
So
like answering your phone call, like should you like skip every other phone call that they call you?
Yes.
Ask me for a friend.
I do kind of know this stuff by nature, but even I fall to my own traps, and which is like, you know, when I do experience a woman chasing me excessively, that is a turnoff, because you know, like women, we also need our space. We really do, and we need to have a sense of control of our life and our environment. And so when a woman is kind of intervening into your life excessively, that really turns us off. It really does, because then we kind of feel like, oh well, maybe we're not in sole control of our lives.
So men don't like being chased by women, but do they like being approached by women? Like if you were at a bar and a woman came up to you because she thought, you know, you look handsome or you had potential. How do men feel about that?
Well, I'm going to give you two scenarios. And so one scenario is depending on what type of guy I am. Okay. And if I'm a low value guy, which means I'm introvert, I don't go out much, I don't get to experience, you know, social interaction. Yeah, that would be a positive to me. That would be a plus for me, because then less work, right? Less work for me to interact and to meet an amazing woman. But if I'm a high value man and I'm very selective about the women that I choose to be with, like, you know, there might be a little turn off, because then, you know, again, it's like going back to the hunter scenario, right? Am I really fishing in the open waters, or am I fishing in a bucket? And so, you know, it sounds archaic, and it really does, but again, it just goes back to the thrill of the hunt. And so, and it kind of continues to like respect, because like we really want to work for what we really want and desire, you know, because when we work for it, we appreciate it more and we respect it more, and it applies to women as well. You know, if I really work for you, okay, I'm gonna love you more. I'm gonna cherish you more. And you know what? The trophy and the plaques that I have on my wall, on my mantle, is gonna mean so much more, as opposed to hey, it was just kind of like thrown into my lap.
That's true. That's a great analogy.
Yeah. So question about the low value guy and high value guy. So how does and I'm assuming that when you say someone who's introvert, doesn't mean that all introverts are low value guys. But like, how does somebody, you know, become a high value, you know?
How do you shift that?
Yes.
There.
So nowadays, via social media, value is kind of determined on the amount of likes that you have, or the amount of friends or followers that you have. And you know, as I get older, that does become more relevant. And so value is kind of measured to what society kind of puts you as, right? And I guess that's a general frame that we can like work off of in value. And so value, again, it could be faked, or it could be implied. And so fake means this, like fake could just be like, hey, I'm a high value guy because I post like pictures of me with like high-end cars, or pictures of me with like you know, beautiful women, and that could be fake. That could really be fake. And now implied is where if I was a woman, and if I were to go to a social event, and people are always talking about this particular guy, or people, or whenever I bring up this guy's name, people are saying positive things about this guy, and that's kind of hard to fake. And I think that you know, value is it could go. You can use it in your benefit either way. You know, where you can kind of be a poser, or you can be the real deal. And I think that women women wants to have a high value man, which means like what, honor, right? Your family honors him. He has a high level of commitment. He's loyal to you, to your family, to his family. And so things that even outside of our beliefs, our family believes, your parents, your mother and father believes it. And if they believe it, and then we kind of like we kind of adopt those social values, and I think that's kind of where, you know, value comes into play. Does that make sense?
You know,
That's kind of a broad subject.
And women really value confidence in a man also.
Mm-hmm.
So for a man, how does he gain that confidence to approach a woman?
Practice. Yes. Practice.
So like just going and like doing multiple times, failing, or you know, is he practicing in the mirror? Like, what did he do?
Yes, practicing in the mirror, going out into the field and failing.
Yeah.
And so practice, what it does for you is it it puts you in a real life scenario, and overall gives you this experience. Like we can't just expect to enter any kind of like professional sport and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to play football and things are going to be okay. No, you have to have a level of training. You have to have some experience with training, and it applies to dating too. It really does. If you're a newbie, or if you're re-entering the dating world, I encourage all people to go out there and practice.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the controversy kind of begins, because this is where we get these negative labels of calling a playboy or calling a womanizer, and for women calling prostitutes or calling other nasty names, because we're trying to go out there and just practice, and we need live like partners.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that these people are real life people, and these people are people that kind of interact in the field of our real world, real life experience. But we really need to go out there and practice.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like when you get rejected, it's really hard because you feel like it says something about you, right? Like whether that's like I don't look a certain way, or I'm not like this, or I'm not like that. But I definitely agree that you have to kind of learn to have a thick skin. Otherwise, you're never gonna, you can see somebody that's really attractive and that you really want to talk to. But if you're not willing to put yourself out there, you're never like gonna have a chance, right? The answer will automatically be no. And so I think remembering that just because someone rejects you doesn't mean that you're not worthy to try again and go somewhere else, So just a thought.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of the conversation that we've had a little like a few days ago, Callie, about like going in with the intention of like just it's not wasted time, even if you get rejected, because you should always just try to get to know someone regardless of whether you develop a relationship with them or not, right? It's a friendship that you develop, and it's never wasted time to just practice. So
right, that's like straight from a question. Shane, can you ask that question, because we had a viewer that had a question. I want to make sure that we capture.
Yeah, so Sleepless in San Diego asked, do you waste time befriending someone at all with the stance if your purpose from the get-go was to pursue more than a relationship?
No, I don't agree in friendship outside of initial romance. And so I'm more of an aggressive person. So if I were to take on that personally, I would lay my offer on the table, and it's more of a take it or leave it. It's like, this is where I stand, and this is my offer. Either we're dating or we're not friends. Just to be clear. Yeah.
I guess we don't see eye to eye on that. I think women were a little different.
But go ahead.
Because generally, like, you want to, as a man, you kind of want to maintain a level of value and how you value yourself. So to add to that, it's like if I approached you and I say, hey, I'm interested in you, I would love to date you, you're amazing. But if you don't agree to those terms, Nikkei, I'm going to withdraw my offer. And beyond that, we're not going to have friendships. We're not going to message each other. We're not going to be friends. Why? Is because I initially like you. And what hurts me the most is for me to watch you love someone else. And that's a miserable way of living. Why? I think that's the worst way of living than to, not share this life with you.
Yeah.
How do we respond to that, Callie? Because we totally disagree, right?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm kind of the school of thought where I need that friendship first, and I need it like slow. Like I move. I feel like I move at a pretty snail pace, and that's how I like to move. But it's also like probably my controlling personality, right? Like that's how I want to move. And if you don't want to move that way, then like no loss to me. That's kind of how I feel. And so if someone's going to come and say, this is my offer, okay, you can take your offer somewhere else because it's not welcome here. So that's kind of, you know, but I mean, that's a definitely different and interesting perspective.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, my process on that is that if you can't be friends first, then you don't really know how that person's like, right? I mean, how do you know if you even like them as a friend? And once you develop that friendship, then, you know, you can always go from there.
I mean, I feel like when my husband asked me to date him, I've only talked to him on the phone like twice. So, but you know, we were so young. We were so young. I think I was like 14 or 15, right? But still, it's kind of like, so I mean, I guess saying yes, I see what you're saying. But I also think that, you know, kind of like, I'm just going to echo what I said before, is that you kind of need to know people, especially because we're a little older now. Versus like when I was 14 or 15. Whereas I feel like if I were to ever get a divorce and get back into the dating scene, I would want to like get to know somebody more before actually committing. And so I do want that friendship.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing like a few steps here. What I failed to clarify is this: as a woman, you should be seeing 4 or 5 guys.
Thank you. That's what I've been trying to tell a friend of mine.
And that goes to the idea of like friendship. Like, of course, yeah, you need to know the stranger, so the stranger is no longer a stranger; it becomes like a part of your life. But after a certain time, like when you establish like this sort of foundation in your relationship, there has to be a moment. You know, going back to the idea of buyer-seller, right? If I'm a buyer or I'm a seller, there has to be a point in time in our premise or our context. Hey, what are we? Labeling, right? Women love labeling, and that's part of feminine energy. Is like we need to establish a label. You know, are we going steady? Are we exclusive? And so that's when the guys should, you know when and where to withdraw their offer.
Okay, I got you.
I'm not saying on the first 24 hours.
I was gonna say that's a little rough. But do you feel like that's so? Let's say like if you put it out there and she rejects your whatever you put out there, do you feel like then that is wasted time for you? Like, do you get angry about that if she rejects you, or not you specifically, but men in general? Because I think some people do, right? I think that was part of the follow-up question to that, to Sleepless in San Diego, is that, you know, is that like wasted time?
Absolutely not. And, you know, I encourage all men to go out there and get rejected as often as possible. I get rejected, I would say 97% of the time. 97% of the time.
Wow, women are rough. So, you know,
that's a good thing. It really is.
You were saying that women should be, you know, talking to 4 to 5 men at the same time. So, like for a guy, if that woman is talking to 4 other men, how can he tell if she's actually interested in him?
You can't. And it goes back to being, as a man, being centered in my self-confidence and my masculinity, is to trust in the process of things. Like, you know, if I throw my offer on the table, it's on the table, and it's wraps for her, as well as for any other woman who's compatible with being that man. And it's important because, like, if we throw an offer on the table, we don't know the caliber of this woman, not necessarily, not off the top. And so, like, if we throw an offer on the table, it's whether or not they choose to jump on board with you or not. And the key thing here is for men generally, is your sole mission and purpose of life is not after a woman. And I know that sounds shallow, and I know that sounds egotistic, but our sole purpose in life is not to be with a woman. Our sole purpose in life is whatever your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations is, because that in itself is what attracts women to you to begin with.
Yeah.
If you're a low value person, you lack those two things. No mission, no purpose. But if you're a high value man, you are clear with yourself. You're clear that you're a man and that you are striving for your purpose, and you have a clear strategy, and you have a mission to fulfill. And anyone that comes on board on your train, whether it's your friends, your associate, or a lover that comes on board, is just a byproduct of what you are living for. You know, it would be awesome to have this beautiful, amazing partner to come into my life, but it is not necessary. It is not necessary because I have an objective. I really do have an objective, and so I think that's how most men should, take that approach.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because I think a lot of, I don't know about, I'm just speaking, and I think a lot of women are like this. At least I am, or where I'm like attractive to men who have drive and are very ambitious, because I don't want to be with someone who maybe, like as you described, like low value. So
I think it's nice to know that people have stuff going on,
Yeah.
Like I definitely appreciate that. And like I have my own, so like as you're talking, like for men, like I think as a woman, I have my own goals and I have my own aspirations and stuff. And so yeah, whoever wants to jump on my train is a byproduct of that also. that is the way that I see my life is exactly that. So I would say that I feel like that is totally the same thing as well, because I think that I think maybe men are attracted to attractive women, but I think knowing that like they don't put that you're not their world, I think that goes both ways. Do you agree or just?
I do agree, because and I can share a little bit about this about my personal life, is that my last ex-wife, right, and so she was everything, all the above, top 10. Gorgeous, amazing, genuine person, giving. She was wealthy. She was intelligent. She had a respectable position. All the above. And she was the breadwinner. Me, on the other hand, I was unemployed. I didn't have anything going on for me. My career was zero, and so, and I started and I ended up doing all the things that that express feminine energy, which meant, and I'm not saying gender roles, but I did a lot of like the household work, and I was more or less like the house dad, right? The stay home dad, and I take care of all the essentials, the cooking, the cleaning, and everything. And when she get home from work, I drop whatever I'm doing and I'm attentive to her. I listen to her, and she vents. I give her feedback, and that's how we kind of lived our livelihood, our lifestyle. And so over time, what it did, it hurt me over time, because, and then what she really saw in me was, this person had no drive. Yeah. This person really didn't have anything going for him. Yes, I'm a film director, and I have aspiration. I have my own personal goals, but when we were together, I wasn't expressing it, or I was not successful in it. And so it really, in the end, like, she had no respect for me. There was a lot of love, and we genuinely loved, and we were in love with each other, but there was no respect. And that's just one of my personal experiences that I've had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that experience just kind of solidified, like what I said earlier, right? I think just women in general are attractive to people with drive and are ambitious. And so, for men out there, if you go find something, like go find something where, like you're passionate about and you want to work towards. I think that'll be attractive to other women, especially in the, if you're single.
Well, I also think that it's really important that you're working on yourself, that you find that internal happiness, right? Because if you're not happy with yourself, how can you make someone else happy?
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So, you know, once you scored that date, you kind of built that relationship, how do you keep someone engaged in dating you?
That's a tough one. I struggle.
Spill it, Sang. I want to hear.
One of the fundamentals philosophies, like you have to continue to date this person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you have to continue to date your partner. I mean, if you don't like on a daily basis, bi-weekly basis, like acknowledge your love and affection for this person, then you know, obviously, you know, that flame is gonna burn out. And so I encourage, you know, for you to continue to date your spouse or your life partner. Absolutely. And never forget it. And never forget it. Because over time we fall into this like comfort zone or a place of complacency where we feel like, oh, peace of mind, right? We know that this person loves me and we don't have to go the extra mile. Well, you need to go the extra mile. You really do. You know, when you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting you say that because I don't remember I had a conversation with someone where they're like, yeah, he told me that, you know, like I need to dress up more. Like when we're going to the restaurant, like we can't just go in sweats. Like I have to put clothes on. And I'm thinking like, well, you probably should. You shouldn't live in sweats all the time just because you're comfortable. But there's a time and place where you do need to dress up and go to a nice fancy dinner and, you know, do your makeup and your hair and make yourself feel good. Right. Because I think that's what, I don't know. I think at least for me with new, I do tend to be lazy. I mean, this is the only time I put my face on. But you know, but then when it comes to like, oh, let's go to the movies or let's go have a nice dinner without the kids, then I do dress up and I do put my face on and you know, make me feel special and make him feel special. So I think it is that continuous dating that kind of keeps it alive.
Yes. Absolutely.
So when you're in this relationship, do men or women care how sexually experienced you are?
Not necessarily. No.
Please elaborate.
Okay, now what I can say is this: before you enter in any form of like romantic relationship, is how confident you are with your sexuality.
Yeah, that's so true.
This is an important factor when it involves like first impressions or like initial interactions with a potential partner. And you know what? This will also help men to get outside the friend zone. And I'm gonna be honest, like every interaction that I do have a woman that I have interest with, I usually make out with them in the first few hours. And so that, you know, I confidently say that because there's an initial assumption that it just happens to me. Like, I just, like, for me to be physically, you know, connected with this person, it just happens to me. And it extends even to like sex, like where sex just happens. It's not something that I'm in search for, or that's one of my agendas, and that I'm out there to try to get sex, or I'm out there to like meet women and to like, you know what, get something out of it. It just happens. And being openly with your sexuality and being like confident in how you express yourself physically, I think that's very, very, very important. And you know what? That's why men complain about being friend zone all the time, because they're afraid to get outside that comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So if you guys don't mind, like I would like to use my little board to kind of illustrate. Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. So and this will help men to get outside the friend zone. It really is.
Okay. Getting out of the friend zone. Men, take note.
Really is.
Especially you single guys.
Okay. So let me move this a little bit closer. Because men, like we're genuinely good people, and we want to do and say all the right things, but oftentimes it counterreacts, and all the bad guys get all the benefits. I'm gonna show one illustration for guys and gals, and maybe that'll kind of help you kind of understand, okay, why we do things we do, and why we say the things that we say. And so generally we have a graph, and we have here safe, and we also have here safe. Now we have here discomfort. We'll call it discomfort. Can you guys see this?
Can you come a little closer? Yeah.
I mean, y'all know I'm blind, right? So
I mean, I hear you saying it, but I can't read the words on the board.
So safe is the top word, and then discomfort is the bottom word.
Got it. Okay.
So far on this.
All right. So safe and discomfort.
We have safe and comfort, and then we have zero. Right? So we have positive. This is more positive.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more negative. All right? And then we have zero, which is this. This is plutonic. All right? Also, beyond plutonic, this is always a positive, negative to any kind of interaction.
Right.
So we have this that we have here. We also have like the friend zone. And we also have the friend zone here too. This is called the friend zone.
So, Sang, do you think that the friend zone is the same thing as the bro zone?
Yeah.
Okay, just trying to make that clear for one of our audience who's asking.
And so we have here zero, which is absolutely plutonic. And that just means that, hey, you know what? I'm confident enough to come and say, hi, how are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Let's get to know each other.
Okay.
Right? And so guys would actually have a conversation to where it would go, it's great. Oh, it's good to meet you. You know, you're doing good. I'm doing good. Oh, like, who are you? Oh, I'm a Yang. You know, I'm a Yang. You're a Yang too. Okay. So, like, who are your friends? Oh, yeah, these are my friends. These are my friends. And it usually goes like this. This is the conversation. That's how the conversation would actually, guys who are trying to play it safe, guys who wants to be like genuine and being chivalrous and like, oh, I'm gonna do the right thing, right? Well, this is what differentiates good guys from bad guys, is because right off the bat, what I would say is, hi, who are you? I think you're kind of cute, but really, like, try to impress me. And so I'm off the bat, I'm an asshole. No, it's more like this. I'm negative. I'm negative, right? Because now, like, you're kind of stunned and you're kind of shocked. Like, who is this person, and why is this person talking to me like I'm a nobody? You know what I mean? And so, regardless, in most cases, in a woman's mind, she would automatically think, well, you know what, this guy's an asshole. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means that I'm interrupting your normal flow of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm seeking is, I'm trying to spike your emotions. And that's going to keep you engaged. Because, you know, if I'm continuously like challenging you, giving you positive emotions, that's going to keep me outside the friend zone. It really is. Mm-hmm. And also that'll extend your attention span for whatever that I'm saying. And and to be honest, like for most guys, we think, again, we're logical creatures, and we see things like, you know, in a graph. But women see things from the heart, and women see things from emotions, and they're engaged whenever they have like this butterfly or this like roller coaster, you know, kind of, you know, tummy kind of feel. And so guys need to play off that. Guys need to be able to inhibit that and to be able to give that person, that woman, that experience. Because if I'm continuously being nice to you, I'm complimenting you, that's not going to do anything for you. But if I'm challenging you and I'm being awkward and if I'm being like weird in a flirtatious kind of way, then that's going to challenge you and that's going to engage your interaction. You know, most of the times whenever I approach a woman, I make no sense at all. Like I would say, "Oh, hi, where are you from?" They'll say, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from outer space." And so they're like, "Okay, where'd you come from?" "Oh, I just crash landed from Mars." It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. But if I could get a genuine reaction from you, it doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't, because you're a stranger, I'm a stranger. It doesn't matter what I say to you, as long as you're happy, you're engaged, or you're challenged. That's gonna prolong your attention, and then that's gonna open me up for me to kind of inject myself of who I am.
I guess that's why they have like a cheesy pickup lines, right? Like, "Oh, go like,
Like, would you say that your area of weirdness depends greatly on how you look, right? Would you say that? Like, because an attractive person can get away with a lot of stuff, and then an unattractive person probably be called like a weirdo. Agree, disagree?
I would disagree, because attractiveness, physicality, physicality, it plays a role amongst men, but it doesn't play a role amongst women.
And I also feel like, doesn't it go back to that confidence, where if you can be ugly, but if you're confident, then that other person's going to find that very attractive, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say depends.
Okay.
Let's just be honest. Like, okay, I'm saying that from a very honest place, right? It's like, yes, like confidence can carry you, but I mean, let's just be real.
I think perhaps you're talking about.
Okay, you guys are laughing, but I let's just be real.
Okay, but then what if you're attracted to that person who is not so hot, though? See, attraction is really important too.
Right, but attraction, like, that's what gets you even looking, right? And so it's like, I mean, it's kind of like when we talk about 50 Shades of Grey, right? And like that joke about how he's like this billionaire, and so of course the stuff he's doing, that's so attractive, right? There's this like idea about Christian Grey, right? But then if he's like broke in his mom's basement, you would totally be like, no. Agree or disagree?
So you're talking about. So to be clear, you're talking about like energy, like vibe attraction, or you're talking about like physical, like visual?
Yeah, there's a difference. I agree with saying. I think there is a difference.
I would say both. You know, I mean, I guess I'm just saying that like physical attraction plays some role in it, and energy plays some role in it. But we can't say that confidence will carry you to like a 10. You know, like if you're going after a chick that's a 10. Like confidence itself will not carry you far enough to 10. Maybe.
That's not true.
Why are you saying Hitch? Hello.
I'm just.
Well,
I guess.
Okay. Why is it that we see beautiful women with ugly men all the time? If that's.
That's.
Come straight out and say it. It's okay.
No.
Oh, Shang, you froze.
I've experienced that. Am I moving up?
No, Shang's frozen.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. Am I still frozen?
Yeah.
There was this restaurant that my ex-wife and I used to go to all the time, and the hostess and the waitresses would always say, "Oh, hey, the Beauty and the Beast is here," and so.
That's rude.
I must be close. I'm assuming you guys are close.
And I totally get it. I do. And to add to what you were saying, Callie, is that you do need a combination of both, because that applies to you as a woman, as an individual. That hey, what are your criteria? What are your standards? Like if that applies to you, then absolutely. Like if you need both versions of attraction, whether it's confidence or physical attraction, then absolutely. And it's tailor-made for really you. But to speak to the most guys out there, and for men, we generally need to use all our tools in our toolbox to benefit us.
Yeah.
We can't just expect to go out there and to meet 8 to 10 women and not being an 8 or a 10 ourselves. That's just not realistic. If I wanted to go date like a supermodel or swimsuit model, I need to be somewhat calibrated or at that caliber. It just makes total sense. It really just makes total
right.
sense.
And it's I'm not saying that it has to be someone that's super attractive, right? I feel like being attractive just means taking care of yourself. Like wearing like nice pressed stuff, depending on where you're going, like brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, like all those little things, really going to the gym, like all those things add up to make a person attractive. And it's not that you have to naturally, shoot, for reals, like we sure don't wake up this way, like we talk about men deceiving us, like women, we don't wake up this way, and so it's like, but we clean ourselves up so that other people would be attracted to us, right? Or we feel good. But I just feel like I'm not trying to say that everybody needs to be, like a super attractive person, but I'm just saying, like, taking care of yourself so that when that moment arises, like you are in a good place, and that helps with your confidence as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's so true. Like, I have a lot of students and people that do come to me, and they genuinely believe in, like, a hierarchy, whether it's God, Buddha, or the universe, and they think that, hey, you know what, like you're so pickup, or you know how to talk to women, and and they kind of like look down on what I do and what I teach. And people would say, why do you need to do this? Or like, are you trying to like get into women's pants, or are you trying to manipulate people and cheat them? No, it's what it is it's training that prepares you for that moment. And like what you were saying, Callie, is like, you don't just wake up beautiful. You have to invest in yourself, and you train on a daily basis, and you apply these things into your daily lives, whether it's makeup, it's salon, it's whatever, hair, personal care, because you're preparing yourself to when you meet that person. And hypothetically speaking, like if you don't do these things, you don't practice these good habits on a daily basis, and what happens when this person comes into your life, right? What happens when you meet the man of your dreams? Or what happens when you meet the woman of your dreams? You're just going to freeze, or you're going to feel unprepared, because it can happen at any moment. And so it's good that you say, you have to have this mindset of constant awareness of like, okay, just because today is an average day doesn't mean that I have to like wake up in jeans and tees, or not apply makeup, or not brush my hair and stuff like that. It's a continuous lifestyle. It really does prepare you for that special moment.
Yeah. Completely agree. Well, we are actually running at, I feel like, I didn't think it would pass by so fast. It's already like over an hour. So we definitely want to like bring you back at some point to continue this conversation, because I think there's just so many good points when you talked about like high value. I've never, I don't know if I've ever kind of looked at it that way. But I feel like you're absolutely right of making sure that you value yourself, and you're taking those steps to go from a low value to a high value person, which is not to knock the low value person, but it's this continuous progression. And then another thing that we talked about was, being a bad guy and a nice guy. And I think, when for me, like when it comes down to it, it's just creating boundaries. If you don't want to think about yourself as a bad guy, I would say think about it in terms of boundaries, right? Setting boundaries for yourself of like what I would do to chase this woman versus, like what I won't do to chase this woman. And that really, although it seemed like a bad guy move, I think that, like you said, creates discomfort and creates a little bit of tension. And I always think tension and a new courtship is a great thing. It keeps it interesting, it keeps it fun. And then I absolutely loved what you wrote for the friend zone.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of dudes do get stuck in that, you know, and I don't know if it's just women keeping them in their back pocket just in case, and vice versa. But I think that was a nice little graphic. So before we end this, I really want to have, maybe if you can give us like your 3 biggest takeaway, if nothing else, from this session for the men and women that are listening.
Absolutely, and it is this. It's the majority of our frustration when it comes to like men and dating is like we want to win, and we really want to be with a special person, and we want not only that person needs to be special, but that person needs to be like the the most genuine, or like the top 10 in our lives. So we can show it off, and we can like express our victory. But oftentimes men don't take action, and we kind of settle for less. We really do. And so I challenge all men to kind of look beyond their limiting beliefs, especially for like because we have a lot of like cultural beliefs that sets us aside from the rest of the masses. So I had a real quick story. So I have a friend, really good friend, and he's a Yang, and he would always come to me and tell me about these amazing women that he meets, and they're also Yangs too. And so, I would always challenge him. I said, hey, you know what? First off is, do you believe in this belief? And I know, and I get it. Like, I understand that it goes against our cultural beliefs. And I said, do you believe in this belief? And he says, well, yeah, you know what? I do honor it. And I said, well, then again, you know what? You are also responsible for your own happiness, not me, not no one else.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. Not anyone, not your parents, not your associates, not your family, but you. Now, if you're going to let this limiting belief stand in the way of your own happiness, then that's really on you, bro. Because at the end of the day, it is just you and her. And so, I challenge all men to kind of think outside the box. Start dating outside of your nationality. Start really go out there to experience, because you really don't know what you want until you actually go out there and have a taste of it. Because it's a big world, and it's a safe world.
Yeah.
Was that 3 takeaways, or was that just one?
I was kind of
I thought it was just one. I was waiting for the other 2.
I know, I was waiting for the other, but that's a really good one. Do you have 2 others, or are you good with that one?
No, I have plenty. I mean, you want to hear 2 others?
Let's hear 2 others.
Okay.
I want the men and women to take as much away from this episode as possible.
Yeah, maybe just some tips that you can provide our audience too, of if you were single and dating, what things would you as a coach give information to them to kind of help them out, right?
For men, I would say, for men and women, I would say self-discovery, because for women, and I see this, I've seen it through ex-wives, that the moment we break up, or the moment divorce is over, they would jump into another relationship, and then I hear from mutual friends that, oh, well, they're no longer in this relationship, now they're in another relationship. And I get it. I do understand that they have this huge gap and this huge void in their life that they need to fill. Years and years of accumulated blackness, this hole in your life, they really do fulfill. But you know what? Take a step back. Really do. Take a pause in life and really reflect on what you really want in life. And this is where self-development and self-improvement comes into play, because now this is a moment where you have 100% focus on the things that you really wanted to do from the beginning. Because now that you have all this extra free time, extra free space in your life, really learn to love yourself. And I don't just casually throw that phrase out there, like love yourself, right? Self-love. It's really learn to love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, then no one else is going to know how to love you until you learn how to love yourself. Self-care, put on makeup, brush your hair, get out there, genuinely be yourself, and learn about the things that you've never got a chance to learn. Go out there, experience men, experience life. Go out there and do all the things that you've been dying to do that you haven't got a chance to do until you get that out of your system, and then you can make a clear decision about, okay, I'm ready to start doing it, or I'm open now that my life is complete. I'm open now to accept applications into partnerships or life partners into my life. Because you're always going to be trying to fill that gap in your life with nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Forcing that to
happen.
So true.
Great tip. I love it.
Yeah.
I
one
think,
last
I think
one.
just
Give
being
one
ready.
last big one for us.
Big one. Okay, so for the men. Okay, so guys out there, I personally have a lot of haters. I personally have a lot of people who are genuinely out to sabotage me, get me for whatever reason. And I get it, because people have this projection in their lives that they think that, hey, this is how you should live your life, or this is how society kind of acknowledges life. Well, for me personally, I lived it. I've been married twice. I've been exclusive to one woman, loyal to one woman at a time, and committed to these women. But you have to kind of expand that idea. And the philosophy to this is love is free and love is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, your perspective of love is maybe, in a husband and wife kind of a context. But I'm going to tell you this, there's so much variations of love. I've been in relationships with multiple people. I've been in relationships to where it's been exclusive. And it's the same amount of love. I'm free to date this person. But then again, she wants to marry so-and-so. Hey, go ahead, go do your thing. I love you genuinely, I support you, no matter what. But you really don't know love until you really experience it. And again, it goes back to the idea that love is free and love is infinite, because love can't just be one way. It's infinite variations of your love. And so haters will come up and say, oh, you know what, I'm being judgmental, and love should only be this way. You need to be committed to your husband, your wife. I get that. I really do. But, guys like my dad, who's been married is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. I'm not judging him for what he did or what he's done, because that was before my time, and it worked for him, and it worked for my mom, and it worked for it worked for them. And for me to exclude those ideas, that's just not unjust, because love is infinite. It really is.
I would love to bring you on that topic down the road about Since you say that, I would love to have an episode on us talking about that and exploring what that is, and it'll be interesting.
Yeah. But that's a great note to end on, just that love is infinite, and that
yes.
I think at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to fight for someone's love, maybe fight to a point, but at the end of the day, there is probably someone out there that's better for you. And so we really enjoyed you coming on today, talking about this subject. I think there's so many things that, we could go so deep into. So I appreciate you bringing it all today and just being truly honest and open with us. And we hope that you all enjoyed our show today. Appreciate the questions that we've gotten. Again, we love having these conversations, because we do believe that conversations drive change, and change does start with you and in your circles and communities. So we will see you next time.
Thank you, Faye.
Thank you.
Bye.